said off-roading is my life wouldn't quite cover it. Not only is it my job, but it's also something I'm extremely passionate about and enjoy doing whenever I get the chance. This past season, the off-road industry saw unprecedented growth, and new unit sales have been breaking records every month. Not only have we seen a ton of new entrants into the industry, but existing owners have been re-energized and are upgrading their vehicles and spending more time on the trail than ever before. Why this is happening is not a secret to anybody who's been in the industry even for a few years. Off-road riding is addictive and it's contagious. Here at TRAX, we think this unprecedented growth could continue for many more seasons, but in order for this growth to continue, there are some simple things we as riders can do to keep ourselves and the sport itself healthy and moving forward. Today I want to go over a few of these things and look a little more deeply into why they're important. Now, you as a seasoned rider may be tempted to just tune the rest of this section out. But this info is for you too. It's never a bad idea to stop and remind ourselves about these things from time to time because each of us individually represents this sport as a whole. When people read about ATV or side-by-side incidences, they don't see them as isolated. They're always viewed as a problem with all of us. So, it's all of our responsibilities to pay attention and act and ride right, whether you're a brand new rider or heading into your 40th year on the trails. The first thing I want to touch on is, based just on the riding I've done this season alone, something we could all use a refresher on, and that's trail etiquette. What does trail etiquette even mean? Basically, it refers to proper behavior while you're on the trail, which is a super broad definition, I realize. So let's break it down a bit. The first part I'm going to title, Staying on the Trail. This may seem like common sense to most of you, it certainly does to me, but there are circumstances where even I get this wrong. Here's why it's so important. Many ATV trails actually cross private land. Local clubs and organizations have land use agreements with the landowners to allow the trail to cross these sections of private property. The landowner will specify exactly where the trail can go, and they expect riders to stay on that designated section. I can't even count the number of trails just in my area that have closed over the years because people didn't stay on the trail. It's a scenario that only requires a few people to cause a huge problem. This point goes further than private property though. More and more, motorized off-road recreation is under scrutiny from environmental groups all over North America. There are many who would love to see all off-road riding shut down forever. These groups conduct wildly expensive studies to try and prove that ATVs and side-by-sides do horrible damage to the environment, not just because of emissions, but because they tear up the ground. I personally think this is ridiculous, but I will admit that it doesn't look good at all when a water crossing or mud hole on the trail expands as far as the eye can see in each direction. Yes, I get it, riding in the mud is fun, but there are places that it's okay, like on the trail. If you have to go off the trail to get into the mud, that's not helping our cause at all. If your ATV or side-by-side isn't capable of traversing the mud holes on a particular trail, just stay off that trail. Cutting a new trail through the woods to go around the mud will cause long-term problems that far outweigh the inconvenience of simply finding a different route. The next area of trail etiquette that I think needs to be discussed is garbage. Now in 2021, you would think that we wouldn't have to be discussing this anymore, but no matter what trails I ride or where I ride them, I'm always coming across garbage. This isn't just limited to ATV and side-by-side riders though. This is a problem for all outdoor sports. Hiking, mountain biking, snowmobiling, hunting, skiing. There are those who participate in all of these sports who would rather drop the wrapper than put it in their pocket, and I know that we can all do better. The last area of trail etiquette I want to go over is how you ride and the things you do while you ride. And this one may not be as obvious to new riders as the previous two were. First, stay on your own side of the trail whenever possible. Now obviously there are some trails that are only one vehicle wide. If this is the case, just be extra observant and cautious about what's coming at you. If the trail is wider, only leave your side to avoid an obstacle you can't go over. If you meet some people coming at you, move over as far as you can and give them lots of room. Parking on the trail. This is an absolutely massive pet peeve of mine. It drives me nuts when you come up on a big group of parked riders that are taking up the entire trail. First of all, this is just rude. Second, it's ultra annoying. Third, it's unsafe. And fourth, it's inefficient. You're in the way, so while you may have saved 10 milliseconds of walking to talk to your buddy behind you, you now have to start your ATV and move it anyway to let me by. You wouldn't park your trucks across an entire back road to get out and talk, so don't do it with your ATVs and side-by-sides. Now I want to talk about safety. Riding off-road is awesome. It's fun, it's exciting, and it's challenging, and this is exactly why it's so popular. But as with any motorized activity, it does come with inherent risks. Now, in the collective opinions of all of us here at Dirt Tracks, the risks are both low enough and manageable enough that as long as you're using common sense when you ride, you shouldn't stress about them too much. However, there are a few things that you can do and not do that will make your off-road riding experience safer and therefore more fun for everyone. The more I ride off-road, the more I am truly disappointed to see that many off-road riders feel it's acceptable and fun to drink while they're out on the trail. No matter how you try to justify it, the fact is this: it's not legal, and it's the #1 cause of bad media coverage for our sport. But more than that, it's an absolutely awful idea from a safety perspective. Statistics overwhelmingly prove that the #1 way to get killed or injured while you're riding your off-road vehicle is to drink while you're out on the trail. Man, I get it. I love a cold beer on a hot day. But if you value your life at all, and more importantly, the lives of your passengers, just save the drinking till the vehicles are parked at the end of the day. Now, I realize in many places across the US, it is not the law that you have to wear a helmet while operating an off-road vehicle. In Canada, it pretty much is everywhere. I also get that helmets can be warm on a hot day and aren't always the most comfortable thing to be wearing. For many riders who live in places where there are no helmet laws, this means they simply don't wear one. But statistics again prove this to be a very bad idea. No, it may not be the most cool or comfortable looking thing in the world, but neither is being dead. I have little patience for arguments about why a person doesn't wear a helmet. If you're a new rider just getting into the sport, wear one from day one and eventually it will just become a habit. The final thing I want to talk about in regards to safety is a big one. It's something we read about in the news year after year, and it's something that harms the public image of riding off-road more than almost anything else. It's kids riding adult-sized ATVs or side-by-sides, or riding unsupervised. Every year, we hear a story about a kid who was out on his dad's ATV and had a horrible accident. The media and anti-off-road experts will always blame the vehicle, but I'm not going to mix words here. This is not the ATV's fault. Kids should never be allowed to ride adult-sized ATVs or side-by-sides, and they should never be allowed to ride unsupervised, period. Is there anything more important to us than our kids? Well, there better not be. But I'm always shocked by the comments we get from people who say things like, "My 12-year-old rides a Renegade 800 and handles it just fine," or "My kid is a great rider, I don't have to worry about them doing anything dangerous." Well, that is true, until it's not. Off-road riding is, in my opinion, one of the absolute best ways to teach kids about respect, responsibility, safety, and of course, ultimate fun, which is why I love to see kids out riding ATVs. But keep them on a vehicle that was designed for them and never let them ride unless you're there watching. The last section of this story is a much less serious one. It's maintenance. ATVs and side-by-sides are incredible machines designed to handle almost unbelievable abuse. Seriously, think about what you expect your ATV or side-by-side to survive on a daily basis, and then name one other vehicle that could handle that kind of abuse. There aren't many. Yet despite being ultra rugged, they aren't maintenance-free. The vast majority of breakdowns and failures on the trail are due to a lack of proper maintenance. Before you go out for a ride, make sure you're checking over your vehicle for signs of damage or excess wear. Start by checking your tire pressures so you don't inadvertently get pinch flats the next time you're out on the trail. Check your drive shaft boots for rips or tears. Check your oil for both level and to see if there are signs of water. Give your vehicle a rock back and forth to see if there are any rattles, clunks, or squeaks that shouldn't be there. There are countless maintenance-related things that even a first-time ATV or side-by-side owner can do to keep their machine running smoothly. Figure out how to remove your air filter and give it a check every few rides. If your suspension is greasable, get a grease gun and give your suspension some love every now and then. Change your oil at the appropriate intervals or when you suspect there's water in it. And if you're uncomfortable with even the small task, just let your dealer do them. They'll be happy to help. The real point is that you're making sure these things are getting done on a regular basis. On top of all that, there are a few things you should consider keeping with you every time you ride. A flat repair kit and pump is a must-have, and I do mean must-have. Flats happen, but most can be easily repaired with a few pepperonis and a can of flat proof. If your ATV has a belt transmission, keep a spare belt with you. This is less important for some belt drive designs, but it can never hurt. I always carry duct tape, zip ties, chicken wire, some paracord, a flashlight, a multi-tool, and a way of starting a fire with me whenever I ride, because like the old adage says, if you can't fix it with duct tape and zip ties, it can't be fixed. It's also not a bad idea to keep a collapsible camp saw or a camp hatchet with you, because you will be surprised where trees and stumps end up. This story really wasn't meant to be negative or naggy at all, but these things do need to be talked about among seasoned riders and understood by new riders if we want this sport to continue to grow and thrive into the future. The off-road industry is larger and stronger than it's ever been, and sales show no sign of slowing down this season. I believe that if we as riders continue to act safely and responsibly, there's no limit to how far this industry can grow.